All right, guys. Welcome back to You Do What for a Living. We've got John Manion at NAI Capital. So, John, you do what for a living?
Primarily, I teach business owners, companies, how to make millions in commercial real estate.
Okay. How long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing it since 1998, and here we are in 2021. So what is that? 22?
23 years?
23 years,
Yeah.
Been a long time.
It's a long time.
So essentially, we're a broker. We help the companies, the entrepreneurs, buy their own buildings. So we'll help them sell, we'll help them lease, help them buy, invest in commercial properties, only commercial properties. So we do all aspects of the commercial real estate part of the business to kind of help these guys make their money in real estate.
Okay, and then how about your come up? Let's get a little background on your story.
My come up.
Yeah.
So if you guys, psychology major in college to start off with. Okay. So not that it was any business oriented, but it was the messaging is when I got in front of the hiring manager and they said, you're a psychology major. Why do you want to be in business? I go, I went to college to learn how to learn how about myself, so that when I got out of college, when I got into business, I'd be able to learn quickly and catch up to speed. And I think that worked out pretty well. That was the reason why I did it. I was never going to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I just wanted to, get through college. And so anyway, after a few little stops and starts, I sold a truck bedliner franchise called Linex. So we opened something like 300 stores throughout the country, where what they did was they sprayed pickup truck bedliners with the product in which we supplied. So in doing that, what really got me was you're teaching these people that are cashing in all of their 401ks and retirement accounts to buy a business in order to have a job for themselves. And there were all these buildings they would buy the business from us, and they would rent the building. And it would have, in the front, you'd have a receptionist, and you'd have a conference room, and then you'd go a little back to be a bathroom a little bit further back. And then in the back, you'd have the warehouse, which is where they would spray all of their trucks. And I love those buildings. And we helped with the leasing, and we did all this work to get these guys in business. It was fantastic. It was great. Made a lot of money in it. And then the business kind of ended for various reasons. And so here I am done, sitting on a big pile of money, 35 years old. You can't retire, even though
so you were doing the truck lining stuff for a good 10 years, at least 12 years.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
And we had 300 stores. So and we were doing pretty well. And I said, what I really want to do is I like to own one of those buildings that have those little roll-up doors where we have these Linex guys in there. Okay, and so this was in 1998. Okay, there's no internet, there's no cell phones, right? All there is there are phone booths and yellow pages hanging off the phone booths. You put a quarter in and make a phone call. Actually, at one point it was a dime. But anyway, I drove around looking for these little buildings which to buy. And when I got there, and I got, that's a good building. Well, how do you find the owner? How do you make an offer? How much should you pay? What happens if they don't? How do you rent them? All of a sudden I started freaking out. So here you are. You've made some money. You were successful, but it's just a pile of cash. And now you're going to start another business. I had no idea how to make it work, and no idea how to make a success out of one of those properties. I want to be a broker. So that's where that came from. That was a flash where I said, well, I'll just learn how to do this.
How'd you even know being a broker was a thing?
Well, my mom sold real estate when I was growing up. She was residential. She sold houses. So there was a little bit of in the family kind of a thing. But, it was commercial. So that's what happened. That's how I got started.
You just saw these buildings that were spraying the bedliners, or where they had the bedliners and they're spraying them, and you were just thinking these buildings are cool, so I want to own one of these buildings, or I want to sell them.
Well, so you
they
think
look cool.
Well, you think, but so it goes back to all along for like 10 years, you're selling to entrepreneurs, and you're helping entrepreneurs generate a business that's fantastic, right? They're going to hire people. They're going to generate more revenue. They're going to help their community. They're fantastic. And I got such a great feeling of helping these people get better, right? And being a giant part of the community. I really love that. And so then that's over. And so I felt the good substitute would be to be the owner of the building, in which I would have more than just the spray and bedliner guys. I'd have whatever the businesses would go in, those little what they're called now is we'll call them incubator spaces, right? So that's great for a guy to come in, starts his plumbing business. He's got, some gear in the back, and then all of a sudden he grows into a bigger company. And I thought that was fantastic. At least that was my fantasy of how that was going to go.
Okay.
So, in those early days, you got started up, you were driving around, and then you would step in the phone booth, look in the phone booth.
I would tell you what I would do is I would go to the, I hate to tell you this, but they have yellow pages that are hang off, and I would open the phone book to whatever section, like window washing, for example, and I would look up I would rip out the pages.
Oh, you were that guy?
Yeah, I was that guy. And I would rip out the pages, and I would take it with me, and I would drive to every one of those places, and and go in and see, and that's what I would do.
And how much does that change, to now?
There's no yellow pages. There's no phone booths, right?
Yeah.
It's all cell phone. It's all internet. So so snap forward. Okay, so how did I get here? So the whole idea was I was afraid to make this purchase, right? We all know, or we all think, or we imagine that owning real estate is a wealth creation vehicle, right? You can have a business, you can do a savings account, whatever it is to create wealth or long-term financial stability, right? So I want that, right? That's what I was driving for. I had a big pile of money, but there was no more coming in. It was all going out, right? So how do you kind of find this new business? And so this is what my idea was, and I was afraid of pulling the trigger, right? I didn't know. I mean, it wasn't just afraid. I didn't know how to do this. There was no, and nobody was teaching. How do you know how? You want to go buy one? How are you going to figure that out? Now you can go to Mr. Google and find out, right? Before then, there was nobody.
So you were just calling. You would call and say, "Hey, Mr. Owner, I want to buy your building."
Yeah.
And then hope they would say yes, and then your thought process is, "I'll just figure it out once he says."
Yeah, there was.
Right?
So think about it. There's no, the list is compiled by your driving around and then getting a phone number and then going to a title company and and I didn't know any of this stuff. I'm just fumbling through. Okay, and it just was for about 5 or 6 months. There was a little bit of success where you did get a guy who said, "Sure, right. Come over and take a look at it. I'll sell you my building," right? And then you go there and you feel like you're in the lion's den, and he's going to eat you up because
you don't know what you're talking about.
How much did you pay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do you know if that guy on Unit E, when he leaves, what if he stops paying? What happens then? And I start freaking out. So I said, I better learn how to do it before I sink all my money into it.
So how did the first deal go? Like your first ever deal?
So once the light bulb went on, right, I pulled the plug on that whole concept. So, you got a pile of money. It's fine. Now go, so now I said I would be a broker. So then you start doing a whole new tact. And I was hired on by, one of the top, there's 3-4 publicly traded, commercial real estate firms. And I got hired by one of these guys and went to downtown New York and did the WHEEL program, which means you go from different types of services. So there's appraisals. How do you value a commercial real estate building? How do you run one? Your facilities, the air conditioning, the loading docks, the electrical services. How do you? There was appraisals. I did that for a few months. I did the facilities for a few months. So it was fantastic. Where you get unbelievable. I'm standing on the helicopter platform on the 93rd floor rooftop of some high rise in downtown New York. Unbelievable, right? I've got my cheap suit on and trying to be, and it was a great experience to learn. Here's what it takes to own these things, and it's a whole new thing. So getting back, Sergio, to your question about what happened. So the first couple were always with somebody, some other senior broker who kind of helped you, and you just did a portion of it, which might be running around documents back and forth. I mean, it's been such a long time, I can't remember some of those deals. A lot of leasing, right? Which was really the think about where all the magic happens. So we find a building for you. Just imagine, here's a building. It's a 7-tenant building, and it's all generating rents from these things. How much should you pay? And then somebody leaves, how do you fill it back up? And what should they get? What's the magic? So learning how to lease one of those spaces is really where the rubber meets the road, right? So not only so now I can tell you without a doubt, looking at it, what the value. You can look at how do you rent it. How do you kick a guy out? What are your rules when they don't pay, right? There's a lot of things that we're able to now. So I'll teach you how to do it.
Okay. So you had your come up. You had your come up, right? Now what are you up to?
So it's okay. So the along the way as a broker, the shiny objects jump out at you. Okay. How about a property management business? Right. Well, we're learning how to operate these buildings. So why don't you just manage them? So kind of was a partner in a property management firm where we did property management for a while.
Did that go anywhere?
Was great. I did that for a couple of years and then sold, right? Because
nice.
It's not you're the one doing with the trash and toilets. And there was way more money in being a broker than I was being a property manager. And you could scale the business, which I did. We did scale, but I'd rather be the broker. So anyway, what happens now, right? So and then developer. Okay, so how about being a developer where you go and you buy a piece of land and you build some buildings and you sell them off. Did that for a while too. What comes from all that is the greatest satisfaction. Okay, it goes back doing the spray and bedliner, the Linex stuff about helping entrepreneurs, right? The teaching part of it, helping these guys grow a community. That was where the juice came. Remember the hair stand up back of my head. That's when that happened. Okay, so where we are now, right, is a transactional broker. Okay, and so we are trying to build a transactional brokerage business where we can help entrepreneurs buy, lease, and own, sell their own buildings, right? So the philosophy is, or the kind of the core beliefs is that an entrepreneur that owns their own building is a stronger entrepreneur, stronger company. They hire better, they pay better, and the people that they hire are part of our community. We see the owner, we see the employees at the grocery store, and I'm not the one ducking around the corner. I'm the one giving the guys the high five because I've helped you make $1 million because you buy your building. So I feel I'm community building by helping the entrepreneurs buy their own building. I live here. You live here. Let's make it better. This is how I do it. So that's kind of where this all goes, and that's what I do now. That's where we are.
And so we talked a little bit about before we started rolling, but what's the deal with where you're working at now and kind of trying to branch off and go off on your own?
Oh, it's like, so, okay. So the concept behind that is, why would you hang your license with somebody and give them a piece of your commission? So that's a great question. And the first and easiest answer is it's way more profitable to the individual to be a high earning broker at a low split house than it is to be a brokerage firm. So there's more financial rewards having a very good team where you're a high producing broker. I don't have to worry about printers or paper or ink or phones or subscriptions or HR. All I have to do is work on selling and leasing buildings.
Which you're good at.
Which I'm good at and I like. Okay. Or I could go out and be my own brokerage house, which this becomes a really interesting thing, right? Because the teaching and the helping entrepreneurs part, right? So why wouldn't I have 4, 5, 6, 10 junior brokers, right? Which Sergio goes to the thing we were talking about before, where they work. Here's the plan. Here's the model. If you do what I say, you will make $300,000-$400,000 a year, right? And the answer is we can teach that, right? So we're doing it now. We've done it before. We're on our third round of this, right? You go into cycles with teams and things. I'm on my third cycle of teams, and we're going to do a 5 to 10 year run at this, and each year it'll be $800,000-$900,000 of gross commission income to the team. It gets split up a little bit, but yeah, we're gonna take a run at this for about another 5 or 10 years of making $1 million a year just by being a transactional broker, helping someone sell, lease, or buy a building.
When you say transactional broker, It seems like it's a little stressful, don't you think?
Totally.
Having to go out and
Totally.
find that next deal every single time.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I'd love to. Like, okay, great. So let's talk about that. We're gonna make a deal, right? We'll go to, so it'll be. Let's go and change our focus
Real quick.
Yeah.
Add that on top of being in Southern California. So kind of frame it that way.
How do you mean though?
Because Southern California is hot. We're in Orange County. Like everything's super expensive right now.
And how is that going to be different from where we are 20 years from now or 10 years from now?
Does that not affect you finding a building or?
Yeah, like geographically, is it easier to find a building in some cities rather than other cities?
So that's a different kind of conversation to have. It's a different rabbit hole to go down. I would say to you that Orange County and Southern California as a whole has a lot more commercial rooftops in which an entrepreneur can buy than some of the other big cities like Chicago or New York, right? Where there's a lot more high rises and where more entrepreneurs are renting than they are buying. So I think Southern California, because of its geography and because of how it has grown up, there are more rooftops that are available for entrepreneurs to buy. So I get an opportunity to do all this. One of the things that happen is as you get to be an older broker, there's opportunities become the shiny object that appears and takes you off track. It becomes very easy. For example, I have right now 5 people that said to me, let's get together, throw all of our money in a hat, and we'll go buy something. You know how to do it, John. You know how to run it. You know how to make it lease. Let's go together and we'll become owners. So it's very attractive to do that, right? Because there's a big pot of gold in the rainbow. And it's tempting, but that's not the business, right? It's kind of the business, but not really. So it becomes a choice of focused on, what it is you're doing, and can I build a team that allows me to scale the business from? And here's what we're building: is we're building towards 50 transactions a year, right? So that's 1 a week where we're doing a sale or a lease, 1 a week, right? So if you do 1 a week, just call it 50 deals, and our average deal size is like $1.8 million, I think $1.7 million, $1.8 million, right in that range. But let's just go $1 million. You do 50 transactions at $1 million. That's $50 million in a year, and you're making a 3% commission on $50 million. That's $1.5 million of income to the 3 of us. Okay, you got to pay some operating expenses. The amount of personal wealth that creates is more significant than a lot of other businesses. I mean, I think software maybe is equally as profitable, but we do, we're personal services, so it's very profitable, especially if we get the team and the procedures right. Well,
what if you take that same model, maybe you add on some virtual assistants, or you add on some, scale out your team a little bit more, so you're not the guy, dialing, and your team of 3 now becomes a team of 10. But you can do 100 transactions.
So here's what happens. Now we've changed our model. We're now a brokerage house, right? What the reality of this is that I believe residential is similar. The guys like the Zillows of the world and those online deals, they'll get a market share, but the most of that market share will still be done with the housewives and the residential teams that are doing the phone calls and the personal meets and the referrals. That's where most of this business will come from, because you have $1 million house or $700,000 house, or you want to buy a house, you're going to go and do it yourself. You're going to use Zillow. Are you sure you know what you're doing? It goes right back to where I started. How much did you pay? I know it says it's $1 million for this property. Is it overpriced? What could you rent it for? Right? So there's a lot of questions, and that's where you need the advisor. You need someone that knows how to do it.
So you're not worried about technology coming in and taking your job?
I'm not worried about it. There is a shift and a change in what's happening, and I need to be on top of that, and we do what we can. But the guy that owns a $5 million building is not going to look at Google for who to use to sell his building. He's going to have a relationship. Here's what I talk about all the time. Okay, so God forbid there's a knock on your door and it's the FBI, and they have a warrant for your arrest. And the first thing they say is you have the right to remain silent. Okay, what are you going to do? You're going to tell them stuff. You're going to want to call your lawyer. Okay, now you're hopeful that your buddy that you play golf with or that you go drinks with, you watch Monday Night Football game with, is that tiger in the courtroom, and he's not afraid of the FBI, and he knows you. Nah, Johnny, you're innocent. I got you covered, bro. Right? You want that guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? If you get busted by the FBI and you're in jail, and then you get out, and the first thing you do is Google attorneys, I think you're in trouble. Okay. And I would say the same thing if it may be more likely the IRS knocks on your door.
Okay.
And they go, we're going to audit you. And you go, oh crap. And you go on this Mr. Google and you look for, good accountants that can fight the IRS. That's a problem. You want to know that guy, right? So don't you think you should have a real estate guy that you know and trust to that level of degree?
That sounds very good.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, but there's got to be some market share there of guys who don't have connections to.
I promise you, there's a ton of people because it's very difficult, right? So things change, people move on. A lot of brokers go on and do that little, investment deal, and they're, your guy that you thought you have is gone, right? So that happens, right? So yeah.
Okay. So we've got some more questions from Twitter, and the big one is let's say me and Sergio were like, screw the window cleaning. We don't want to do window cleaning anymore. We want to jump in. We want to be like John Manion, and we want to make money selling buildings. How long does it take to make real money? And then what can we expect in years 1, 3, 5 if we're just hustling, dialing for dollars, just getting after it?
There's a lot of movies that'll show you this stuff. Like I don't even know what you guys are looking at these days, but like Boiler Room.
That's classic.
Oh yeah, where the guys are just on the phone, 100 to 200 calls a day, just banging it out. Right? It is brutal. Right? Kind of what to expect. Right? The first year and a half, it's brutal. And if you're not doing that stuff, good luck. Right? Okay. But if you are, commercial real estate brokers, all right. What they make you do is make you come up with your specialty. Okay, are you an investment salesperson? You're going to sell investments. So that would
what
be
is
like
investment?
Okay, let's talk about it. Could be an apartment complex. Could be a Kentucky Fried Chicken building sitting on an out parcel. Okay, it's just the building, not the business. It's the building. Okay, Kentucky Fried Chicken has a 20-year lease on that building. Okay, and it's generating this amount of dollars every month. And we've got 5 investors that'll buy that building to get the income. They're sitting on a pile of cash. They'll spend $1 million to get $50,000 every year, right? Okay, so you could be that kind of investor. So I'm doing apartments. I'm doing triple net leased investments. That might look like a Walgreens. So you're talking to investors all the time. You're dialing for dollars, dialing investors. Okay. You could be a tenant rep broker. Okay. So check this one out. So you don't ever deal with a landlord. You only work with businesses, and you never sell. They never buy anything. You're just doing leases. Okay. So it's the law firm or the accountant agency or the engineering firm. It's up there on the 9th floor of that Class A tower. It's Taj Mahal up there, super nice. And they have the whole floor. Okay, their monthly rent is $50,000 a month. Okay, and every 5 years they renew their lease because they're not moving. It's beautiful inside there. $50,000. Well, you get paid a commission every time they renew. And each time they renew every 5 years, it's a couple $100,000. Okay. And so the gig is you go out and you just talk to tenants. All we are is a tenant rep broker. I have 500 clients and 20% renew each year. Okay. And I'm making $500,000 a year for the rest of my life. Now you got so you're a different kind of business. I'm taking them to lunch. We're going golfing. We're going to Laker games. This is what we're doing with all of these people. This is the gig, right? We go to the charity events. We're supporting all of my clients' charities. Okay, and they're $500,000 a year, no problem. That's what you are. Different kind of cat, different kind of guy, right? But that's a great way to do it.
It does sound nice though.
Okay, or a street broker, just to look at. We're gonna walk. I got guys in my office. He can barely speak English. The accent is so heavy. Romanian. Okay, he's made a fortune in his business. He would go out every single day and he walks the alleyways and he walks through, and the guy's cutting marble, making a cabinet, and he's talking to the owners as they're out there doing the work. And he has made a fortune being a broker. Transaction got a couple $100,000 a year. Okay, but he walked. It's at 90, 110 degrees outside. He's got the suit and tie on. Goes out there and goes and sees 10 to 15 people a day. Follows up with them on the phone. Okay, it's at $500,000 a year. So the answer is $200,000 to $500,000 a year. It's a grind. It can be done.
So am I expecting $200,000 to $500,000 my first year in business?
No.
How about my third year?
It would be likely to make over $100,000 your third year.
You said unlikely?
No, likely.
Likely? Okay.
Is it kind of still a good time for anyone to jump in? Is it too saturated at the moment?
Is it too late to make money in commercial real estate in Southern California?
Okay, the answer is it's never a good time to buy. It's never a good time to sell. It's never a good time to start a business. It's never a good time to get involved with it. So why the hell are you doing it?
You guys heard it. You heard it here first, folks.
It's never a good time. So why would you do it? Why the hell would you do that? Why would you choose this, right? So you can't time the market. It's never a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So you do it because it's your plan, right? When we buy so for example, we buy a building as an investment. Okay, here's what I can tell you a stat about California, and residential or commercial. If you buy a building and hold it, or property and hold it for longer than 10 years, you'll make money. It's historical fact. Got to hold it for 10 years, you'll make money.
I feel like we're in a little different circumstance now with maybe not different, but definitely weird times, with COVID and prices skyrocketing, especially in Orange County. At least on the residential side, are you seeing the same thing on the commercial side with prices just inflation going up? So
there's a lot. So you're talking about a lot of stuff here. So when I look at the market, it's crazy in a lot of ways. However, I don't think it's overheated on a sale. Okay, I can't support that investment, right? So you want to invest in a commercial property, and you got to pay how much for it? It's very expensive to buy. Okay, and I can't tell you you're going to make a profit as an investor, because the leases that you're going to get on that property probably don't make sense. You could probably go to Vegas, or you go to Arizona, or you go somewhere else and get more of a return on your investment than you can in California. Okay. However, if you're going to occupy it, and you're going to occupy it for 10 years, I don't really care. Buy it. Buy it, because it's going up. There's no more land. Okay. The construction costs are astronomical. You aren't going to be able to build it for near as much as you can buy it at this elevated way. My dollar today, okay, is going to be worth a lot more than my dollar is going to be over the next few years, right? We're going to get into some hyperinflation. The interest payment that I can pay on my note right now will be way lower than it's going to be 3 years from now. So even if I'm overpaying, as you say, today, economically or financially, the value will go up higher than what you seem like you're paying now. So I think it's still a great time to buy. It's a great time to be a seller. Absolutely. Take what you think the value of your building is and elevate it by 20%, and you'll still get it. It's unbelievable.
Okay, so that kind of goes to my next question. You said that you teach business owners to be commercial real estate owners as well, right?
Yeah.
So someone like maybe us in our early 20s, or we have business owners that listen that are in their 30s too. They're a business owner. How would you recommend that they start going down that path?
It's an excellent question. Okay, so most of the building guys, the building buyers that we deal with today, they use an Sba loan. Okay, SBA. It's 10% down, and then they'll amortize that loan for 25 years. Okay, so you guys know what amortizing is, right?
Somewhat.
A little bit. All right, let me. Yeah. So you make a payment. It's like you have a car or you're buying a house, right? So you put a down payment and then you get a monthly payment. Every time you make a payment to that lender, okay, a portion is principal pay down and a portion is interest. Okay, so in real estate, talk about a house, right? That first payment you make, it's something like 90% is interest and 10% is equity. So I'm making $1,000 payment. Well, only $100 goes to pay down the and rest goes to interest. How crazy is that? That's how it is. And in commercial, it's the same thing, right? Same kind of thing. It's the amortization. So every time you make a payment, more and more and more of that payment goes towards that principal pay down. So on that 5th year, that payment, that $1,000 payment, maybe it's like I don't know, and $300 goes to the principal and $700 goes to the okay. So this is called amortization, and that's why this 10-year thing. If you hold it for 10 years, that amortization, right? You're paying the mortgage, and every time you make the rent payment, mortgage payment, you're paying down that debt, right? So that's where a lot of this magic happens, right? As a business owner, you do an SBA loan, okay? The amortization is 25 years, okay? And my payment, there's no balloon. So what that means is I can set myself in business for this 10 years, okay? So that means that I'm just going to chug away. I'm going to pay down my mortgage, and then somewhere down the line, I'm going to sell the building and make money, okay? You use an SBA loan. You can go to your regular bank and tell them you want to buy a building, okay? And that the way that it feels, there's 2 types of SBA loans. There's a 504. I have no idea what that means, which means that it's a first loan from your bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, whoever. Okay, and then the second is the SBA portion. They come back and they bring a second loan at 40% loan to value. So you have 50% from Wells Fargo, Bank of America, whatever, 40% from SBA, 10% from you, and you can buy this building.
Okay.
Is that the answer to your question?
Yeah.
Or do you want to know more? So then, okay, so like how much do you pay? What is the process in which to buy, right? Is that kind of the question that you're asking?
I mean, the SBA part is probably the most important part. Like, where do you get the money? Because you don't want to dish out, too much of your cash flow.
That's right.
Right? So 10% seems reasonable.
So we have I can tell you there's the avatar of the guy who buys, right? He's been in business for probably longer than 3 years, probably more than like just about 5 years or so. Guy's been through a cycle, the gal, and you know what? They've resourceful. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. So instead of paying rent to the landlord, let's just pay rent to ourselves, and you buy a building. So you kind of have to get to that level or that point where you can't just go right out and be 2 years in business and buy a building. You could possibly, but usually it's a little longer. So we established a little bit of track record with profit and loss and balance sheets and stuff, and the bank sees you're making some money, then they loan. Then I'm going to make it, so you buy, right? That's part one. Guys been in business for 20 years generally don't buy because they're just going to lease. Why would they ever change what they do? 5 years. How you do it? Okay, we do what we do when we have what's called a buyer representation deal or tenant representation. We'll survey the market, what's out there on the marketplace. You go and look at a dozen properties, maybe a little less than that, to kind of figure out what your opportunities are. You go through 10, 15 buildings, you'll see what's available, what the values are, and you'll know what a good deal looks like. Everybody says, I'll buy a good deal. Well, how do you know what a good deal is? You go out there, you educate yourself about the market, then you can figure out what a good deal looks like. Get in the car, get into the building and look at them. Okay, because every time you look at a building, there's interior tenant improvements are different, right? Some have never been touched since the 70s, right? Yeah, it's not going to be very good. But one that's been totally brand new, remodeled, that thing, it's totally cool, and it's worth more, right? And you can't tell that from pictures until you go.
Mm-hmm. Great insights.
Yeah, that was really great.
I have another question actually. So, what is one of the craziest deals that you've seen? So maybe it could be like it was structured really interesting, or there was just some weird things about it, like crazy interesting deals.
I got a good answer for him. You want to tell him? All right. Yeah. So it's okay. This is not crazy, right? This is like unbelievable. Okay. So how you do this? Like here's the path, right? So you buy a building and you're in there in your business for a couple of years, right? And your business is just doing excellent, and now if the building isn't big enough and you got to buy a bigger building, right? So you sell the building and then you buy a bigger building. Well, you've made money along the way. Well, what you do is what they call a 1031 exchange. Okay, this is an IRS approved vehicle in which what you're able to do is shelter your capital gains. Okay, stay with me on this one. So you bought the building for $1 million. Okay, you've paid the mortgage down for this amortization stuff, but that's not what we're talking about. That's different. We bought it for $1 million. Now it's worth $1.5 million. So that $500,000 is gain, right? That's taxable.
Long term or
yes, long term capital gains. That $500,000. Okay, that's right now it's like 30%, right? So
Sheesh.
Okay, so all right, I sell my building. I want to buy a bigger one. Well, geez, I got to pay that much tax on. Well, not if you do a 1031 exchange. And there's rules and ways to do this. There's a time constraint on this. But what you do is you can exchange into a bigger building. So I moved that $1.5 million into my bigger building, right? So Brad had done that twice before he met me. And so his building was 10,000 square feet. $2.4 million is what it was. Okay. And he goes, I need to get a bigger building, right? It's got a good building here. He goes, yeah. And what's it worth? And just it was worth like about 2.5, right? It's 2.5 is what it was worth. He goes, let's go see what else is out there. I go, all right, listen, I'm going to take you out there, but you can't find something, because if you find something and you want to buy it, and you buy it, you're going to be in trouble because you got to pay all cash. You're going to have that tax problem. So, he goes, okay, no, we'll just go see. So we went out the first day and he found a building and said, oh, this is perfect. I want it.
How big was that one?
Oh, that was like a $6 million building.
So that was like what, a 20,000 square foot building?
Something like that. I can't remember exactly what size it was, but it was probably 25,000 square feet.
Okay.
$6 million building. He fell in love. This is perfect. It was exactly what he wanted. I mean, and the building was fantastic. Well located. It's way better than his other building. He goes, I got to have it. Okay, so in order to do this 1031 exchange, you sell your building first. Now I have the money, and then I buy the next building. Right? So, Brad, you can't buy this building. We have to sell yours first before we buy. No, we got to have this one. So we made an offer, on the $6 million building. Okay, but what we did with the offer is we told the seller we needed a long escrow. Okay, so we needed to have, I forget it was, we got 4, 5, 6 months of escrow timeline. So Brad would put money up, to buy the building, but he's not going to close with all of it until 6 months. Okay, so then I said, okay, well, listen, if we're going to do this, I know your building's worth 2.5. Let's put on the market for 2.4. Leave a little money on the table so we can get some offers in real quick. He goes, that's a good idea. So we put it on the market. We got an offer after the bat. Oh, this is going to work out great. Okay, about 3 weeks into the deal, that guy blew out. Said, no, I don't want it. I'm like, oh, we lost 3 weeks. Like the next day, we put another guy back in escrow. This was all cash. What we did was we made that guy put up his deposit equal to what Brad's deposit was on his new building. Mm-hmm. So the deposit was the same. We made this guy say, okay, listen, at one point that deposit's going to go non-refundable. You got to pass it over to me, the seller. Okay. And then, if you don't, then we're going to kick you out of escrow. So we made that amount the same as Brad's amount, and we made that deposit go non-refundable a day before Brad's deposit went non-refundable. Okay, so
I'm so lost already.
Okay, so if the guy,
you're like taking his money to buy the
so
building over here.
if the guy blows out, and so we're going to go non-refundable. It was $100,000, so that became to Brad, and then Brad's money went $100,000. He would have to lose $100,000. So if he was going to lose $100,000 because this guy didn't buy the building, he was going to take the $100,000, and he wasn't going to be out of pocket anyway. So anyway, that was a crazy deal, but we ended up doing all the deals. He didn't lose it. He did an exchange. He didn't have to pay capital gains. You want to talk about a high five. He high fives me.
Oh, you were cloud nine after that one, huh?
He was cloud nine, yeah. And it's a fantastic building. He's a good friend of mine. I go to lunch all the time. It's great. It's great for him. So anyway, too crazy?
That was pretty crazy. Definitely fit the bill.
Okay, so wait, there's a message there. Okay, so the path is you buy a building. When you grow out of it, you sell it and you do an exchange, a tax-free 1031 exchange into the next building.
And that time frame is like 6 months?
Yeah, it's 6 months. It's 45 days, and it's 6 months.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's super useful.
So
we always end. We're getting to an hour here, but
oh my goodness,
yeah. we always end with one question, and it's if you take yourself, John Manion, and all the knowledge you know to this day, but you don't have any of your resources, and you have $1,000 in your pocket, and you have to restart and get all your money back, how are you doing it?
I would be a residential agent.
That's what you would do?
Yep, without a doubt, 100%.
Is it just easier to get into?
There's way more deals, more transactions. They're shorter. Like it takes me 21 days to know. I mean, my escrows are 6 months long, where residential escrows are 3 weeks, right? So it's a much quicker thing. I chose commercial because I like the entrepreneur part of things. But so that's why I chose that. But if you drop me into Oklahoma City with $1,000, I would sell residential real estate, and I would do very well.
And you'd crush it?
Yeah.
That's a cool answer.
Well, yeah, that's awesome, man. Thanks for coming on. If anybody wants to find you, or someone wants to buy a building or help, maybe have you sell their building, how could they find you?
Oh, you want me to give you my phone number?
I mean, you can give your phone number if you want, but LinkedIn. You have LinkedIn?
I have a LinkedIn profile, John Manion. The company I work for is NAI Capital, and then I guess the best way to reach me would be through the NAI Capital website, or you could reach me at jmanion, JMANION at naicapital.com. I don't know if that's going to work for you guys.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that works perfect. You got to get on Twitter, man. Seriously, get on small business Twitter, real estate Twitter. It's going to increase your deal flow. You got to do it.
You can help me.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to follow us. Do we even have an IG handle yet?
We can create that. Yeah,
so you do what for a living on Instagram, Twitter, Squeegee God. We'll put their Twitters in the bios. A little complicated to say over the mic. Like, follow, subscribe, share with your friends. Peace.
Thank you.